everybody. I am Alexandra Nay Polstra. I am the Maven of All Maven Enterprise, where we are in the business of developing businesses. And this is Startup Grind. And we host monthly fireside chats with founders, VCs, awesome people who just have a message and a story to share and things to make it fun and interesting. So I'm not going to waste too much time here because I want to get to the person of the hour, which I am most excited about. Travis Taylor, CEO of SpotOn Financial. He has got some wonderful insight to share with us, but some of it you may not like what you have to hear because Travis is all about telling the truth, and he's going to be revealing to us some not so fun truths in terms of business, entrepreneurship, and finance. But he's also going to be giving us the tools that we need to succeed. Travis, thank you so much for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Alex. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you and share what insight and some of the tools, tricks of the trade, so to speak, of how small business owners, regardless of their credit, their financial backgrounds, or even the health and strength of their business, can apply for and receive financing even in these troubled times. So thank you for having me.
I know these are some hard times. I mean, on top of it's just hard running a business, like in general, right? On top of adding everything that we got going on right now. I mean, why did you decide to go into business for yourself?
Well, it started for me really as a child. My very first business endeavor, I was 12 years old with my own lawn mowing business. It was myself, my siblings.
Lawn mowing business?
Yeah, we took a lawnmower. My parents were like, sure, go out there and make some money. And I was like, well, if we make enough, can we go to Disneyland? They were like, sure. So we lived in a place. My father was in the military. We lived on a military base in New Mexico. And I was successful in bidding a contract and winning it at the age of 12. They wound up, when we showed up to actually do the job, they quickly fired us. But they gave us $100 and told us, we like his spirit, like his drive, a little too young for us. So sent me back home. So I got the bug to own my own business early on in life. And over that, for the last, dating myself, for the last 20 some odd years, I've helped grow, establish, market, and promote small businesses. So it's been quite a journey so far, and it's been exciting to say the least.
Wow. Okay. You're bidding at 12. I feel like, I have a 10, a 6, and a 5. Okay. So I feel like you need to be teaching our youngsters how to be winning contracts in their youth. I feel like that would be a valuable skill. Maybe help identify some of our younger ones who maybe have that entrepreneurial spirit, because with kids, you just never know. You never know what's going to light them up or turn them on. But the idea is to give them every opportunity to try a lot of different things. So when they do get that spark, you can go ahead and pursue that. But I'm definitely going to be keeping you in mind and calling you back for helping us kids get contracts at 10. How to be a kid and get a contract.
Hey, tell them small, start small. Tell them to sign a 12-month deal with their parents for taking out the trash. And bid against your siblings. Hey, if anybody's watching, you got kids, make the kids bring in a proposal to why they should be paid what they want to be paid to clean their rooms or take up the trash or sweep your floor. Take the winning bid, contract them, have responsibilities, and cut them a check. So they start early. Right?
So some things, and my grandma always told me, some things you're supposed to do, something you get paid to do. So which activities should our children get paid to do, and which activities should they just do because they're supposed to do them and it's good habits for them to develop as an adult?
So the things that they should get rewarded for, I think, is going to be, being kind to others.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something you get a reward for. That's just being a good person. Doing well in school, being attentive in school, mm-hmm. being courteous to their schoolmates, being respectful to both themselves and to others, both their peers as well as adults. I think those are things that just come with the territory, and that as parents, we really strive in our community to help small kids learn. Now, in terms of actual work, I'm going to tell you, as a parent, you should contract out the work. If you don't like taking out the trash and you want them to take out the trash, that's an expectation that you put on them. Make them bid it out. put a chore on the board. Like I've got a 5-year-old and a 13-year-old. She doesn't like him because he underbids because he doesn't understand the bidding process. But, I mean, he cleans, he picks up toys all over the house for a quarter. She bid $4. I'm like, I got to go with the low man on the totem pole. So he does it for a quarter. We pay him $1. The kid works. He's got an amazing work ethic.
Well, so, I'm gonna have to put that in my household. Yeah, I got my kids signing contracts about if they want things that there has to be some give and take. And I found it works. It does work. You might say, Alex, you're being a little bit harsh making your kids sign contract. I'm like, yeah, but it teaches them some sort of accountability. I'm all for trying new things as a parent. I don't know how long, it'll last or how well it will work in a long period of time. But, I'm all about trying different things. And my kids, they wanted some new game or whatever. It was like $30. And I'm also about blessing my kids just for the sake of blessing them, right? I get blessings. I don't have to do nothing good or bad or whatnot, right? I'm always, get blessed just because. So I do believe in some of that. But sometimes I'm like, well, y'all just got X, 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 and all this other kind of stuff. So if you want this game, there's going to have to be a little give and take. And so I had them sign a contract. I had them agree to the rules. And they had to sign it, and I hung it up on their wall. You know what? They have to have their game, and I got to make sure that they abided by the rules I set in place. And it's only been 4 weeks, but it has worked beautifully. Beautiful.
And let me just share with you, even as adults, the older you are to learn financial literacy, the better, right? I'm a huge proponent for. I love music. I like hip hop music. I like Jay-Z, right? Jay-Z has a line, and I'm sure other people that are going to watch this remember it. He goes, what's better than cash? Credit, right? The opportunity to spend somebody else's money to make your dreams come true is often something that many business owners miss, right? They are under the notion and the idea that it's better to invest their own money, invest their family members' money, their friends' money, right? And then when that business fails, it's always a awkward or even difficult relationship thereafter. So when you're looking at trying to launch a business or start a business, the very first thing you want to do is have the financial literacy and the wherewithal to understand your credit, understand your market, understand what you're trying to grow and how you're trying to grow it, and then use everything from credit cards to banks' money to achieve your dream. Why seek an investor when you can pay a term loan? At the end of the term, get rid of the guy that lent you the money, and it's 100% yours. It stays yours as long as you pay the other guy back.
Yeah, so that's my thing is where are business owners supposed to get this financial literacy? So take me, for example, right? I got bitten by the entrepreneurial bug very early. I have a lot of entrepreneurs in my family, so we come from a long line of entrepreneurs and so forth, and still do. I still have business family members that actively have a business, whether it be online, retail. It's very, very diverse, and of course myself as well. But growing up, it wasn't one of these things that was natural or even necessarily comes out. I mean, I feel like when we're younger, we're growing, we learn about saving, we learn about don't spend too much. We learn kind of about like having a budget, but we don't really learn all of these other things that are critically important to running a business. I didn't really know nothing about credit. So when I first got credit, I was like, woohoo, spend here, spend there, spend blah, blah, right? And so I understand every, parent, business, school, we're all trying to teach these things, but some of us are just not going to get it. It doesn't mean our parents were bad or horrible people. It just maybe they didn't get it from them. So if they didn't get it, they couldn't pass it on. Right. So I got enough financial literacy to, if I got into an issue, I knew how to get out of it. Right. But I didn't necessarily know how to prevent some of the obstacles and shortcomings that were in my future that just could have been preventable, altogether. So how do you address that? How do you attack that? Where do we get the financial literacy that we need in order to make the proper financial steps for people who are just left in the gap? People like me who are 18 who just don't know, is that everybody's not going to get it from their parents. Right.
Right.
So whose responsibility is it to get? It may not be anybody's particular responsibility, but at the end of the day, we'll all be affected by it, right? Those creditors that I couldn't pay 10 years ago, they lost their money, right? When I declared bankruptcy a long, long time ago, right? They lost their money, right? So they got affected by that. I was affected by it. My credit was affected by it. How do we attack this situation and this problem?
Well, it sounds like a simple question, but it's a very complex answer, right? Most of the financial literacy that a person's going to learn now, you can have family members, you can have trusted advisors, you can go get an education from a college, you can attend, business development organizations, you can join your local chapter of your Economic Development Council or SBDC, or even seek out experts and people with talent such as yourself, right, to kind of help that thing. But really, what you need to be successful when it comes to financial literacy is you need to learn to understand yourself, right? You have to recognize how you spend within your means, right? You have to learn discipline in terms of being able to save and forecast what your savings are going to be. You need to run your life like you run a business, right? You don't spend more money than you got coming in. Okay. So if you want a brand new vehicle and that brand new vehicle is going to take up 30% of your income, that's not a smart vehicle choice for you. You may like the vehicle, you don't even believe you can afford the vehicle, but you're dedicating 30% of your net income to a vehicle, and if you're not driving it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, what's the value, right? Other than for you to say that you own the vehicle, right? So you've got to have a value system. You have to have some discipline, and you have to understand leverage, right? Leveraging borrowed money to create money is better than borrowing money to create debt. And let me be more specific about it. For example, most business owners, they'll borrow money from a bank or from a creditor for the purpose of refinancing debt. I want a lower interest rate, and that's where my perceived savings is, right? But it's not. You're literally trading Peter for Paul. You're swapping one debt from one guy to a debt to another guy. And this guy, the first guy, you may have been paying your debt for 2 or 3 years. Well, when you switch to this guy, you started from day zero, and you're refinancing that debt and you're paying again. Whereas smart business owners, savvy business owners, people that work with SpotOn Financial and many of our partners, what we teach them is how to leverage the debt. If you borrow $100,000 from someone, it doesn't matter what the interest rate is. It doesn't matter what the term is. It matters what you're doing with $100,000. Because if you can get a 4-to-1 or 5-to-1, or in some cases I've seen, in rare cases, a 10-to-1 return on that borrowed money, what do you care the interest rate was? Why do you care? If you paid back $200,000 when you borrowed 100, but that $100,000 made you $1 million, you pocketed $800,000.
Yeah, it's a pretty good return. It's pretty good, right?
Right, it's a pretty good return. So when the main thing I tell business owners is understanding, you develop a discipline, right? Understand yourself, understand what it is you're doing, then create leverage with your debt, right? Leverage the debt to benefit you, leverage the debt to create a return, right? Versus swapping debt for debt, right? And the last and final thing is financial literacy, understanding you, understanding what it is you want, understanding why you want it, and then putting together budgets and plans to achieve what that goal is, either with your own money or with borrowed money.
Okay, so tell me something. You said you have to understand you. You have to understand what it is you want. Do you feel like business owners don't really know exactly what it is they want? Like, what are you saying? Like, what is it in your experience that you're seeing when you're talking about? Because that's a very specific thing. Determine what it is you want. Okay, what exactly does that mean?
That's also a simple question, but a complex answer. You firing them today. You making me think today. No, I kid. So when I say what it is you want, for example, when you make a credit card purchase, for example, right? If you make a credit card purchase and that credit card purchase is 24% interest, right?
Okay.
Someone's going to say for every dollar I spend, I have to repay the credit card company back $1.24, right? Well, what is it that you wanted from the use of that credit card? Maybe it's like, I'm going to buy a new vehicle. Great. Okay. Buy a new vehicle, or you buy something that goes on the vehicle, right? Where is the leverage to that? Did the vehicle bring you new business? Maybe it does. Maybe you're like, I'm going to put a vehicle wrap on.
Maybe.
Now I drive around and more people advertise. They see my truck and they call the number. Okay, that might work, right? But then you go into a further analysis and you say, okay, well, how often are you driving the truck? What routes are you driving the truck on? Is there any way to determine where that person saw that truck so that you would drive that route more often? So what is it that you actually want the truck to do? I want the truck to haul more stuff. Okay. Well, do you need that particular truck to haul more things? Can you hire subcontractors that would equal the value of that truck's payment or the cost of that truck by outsourcing that to 5 other subcontractors who would then deliver your products or pick up things for you or make deliveries for you on your behalf that you pay with that credit card, leveraging the money. They now make more deliveries, creating an ROI. You get a 2x, 3x, 4x return that pays off the credit card. You get more products, you get more sales, you create more revenue. So again, it's understanding what it is that you actually want to accomplish. That's the first step. If you can't figure that out, and I won't say that many business owners don't know that. I think they know that, they just don't know how to get to it, right? And most of their trusted advisors are going to be friends and family members who work for someone or may have another business, but that business isn't any more successful than their own. So you're riding with the status quo than actually establishing a way to build and grow your business. So that when I say understanding what it is that you want, understand what it is in terms of what you're trying to accomplish, map a strategy and plan behind what you're trying to accomplish, and then leverage that to your benefit, right?
Okay.
Whether borrowed money from, which I never agree with, but borrowed money from a relative or borrowed money from a bank. How do I go about this? How do I achieve the result I want? And how do I exit whatever it is I've gotten myself into?
So it sounds like a lot of business owners and even a lot of advisors kind of have some very linear thinking and don't know kind of how to branch out. So if they say, I need to haul more stuff, the first thought is, well, I need a bigger truck. And they don't necessarily think about, okay, well, the truck's going to cost this and this and this. And instead of maybe thinking of alternative ways, they're maybe just stuck with, okay, this is how much the truck is going to cost, and this is what I have to put in my budget, and this is how much the wrap is going to cost. And then they just borrow the money from wherever to go about this particular way instead of really knowing how to really like you said, leverage, right, what the alternative routes are. So I think we're beyond, it's interesting that you're bringing this up because we're like beyond like just understanding financial literacy, right? We're talking about navigating a roadmap of, a finance, right? Of true finance and marketing and leverage and understanding. I would call it even go as far as saying when to buy stocks and when to buy bonds and when to invest in the business or when to put the cash. Like if you have $20 and you want to turn it into $100, right? You don't just, if you have $20 and want to turn it into $100, you don't just say, okay, I'm going to stick it in the bank and let it get interest, right? That would be very, very, very linear thinking and very traditional thinking. I have more money I want to turn in, I'll just put it in a savings account with 0.5%, or
Correct.
back, right? Instead of going, okay, well, maybe if I take this $20 to the man down the street who's doing X for these people, and I notice he's getting a little bit of money, maybe I'll invest in that. Or I have $20 now, but maybe if I hold on to it for just a little bit longer because there's something else that's coming out in 6 months that I want to use that $20 for that I know will turn to it. Maybe I'll go that route because maybe waiting 6 months to do something with this $20 is better than doing something with it now, or the opposite, right? Maybe it's like, hey, if I buy this toy right now, in 10 years, it'll be worth $400,000, because it will accumulate some value when the right vintage collector comes about, right?
Right.
Thinking all of these things.
I would put it more in a context like this. I own a transportation or moving company. I can go out and buy a used box truck for $30,000, right? And I can finance that $30,000 over 5 years with a simple interest rate of maybe 10%, right? So, and then I have to insure that box truck. But because I financed the box truck, I now have to have full coverage insurance on that box truck. Mm-hmm. So my cost of insurance for my business is going to go up, right? If the box truck is of a certain size, I now have to get my employees trained on how to drive the truck. So I have the cost for that. If I don't, then I have to have someone with the proper license, maybe a CDL or something like that, to where that person can now drive the truck for me. And if that person's not on staff, I now have the cost of hiring that person, right? And then I need to obviously have the workman's comp. So again, insurance costs go up. And so I can start adding all these costs in hopes that when I have this truck and I've made all this cash outlay over the next coming 3, 4, 5 months, that this truck is going to create me a return, right? And let's just say all of that comes out to be an extra $1,500 out of my pocket, right? Doesn't sound like a lot of money until you say, what if I hire 3 subcontractors who all own their own truck, who I agree to pay $250 a month to pick up orders on an on-call basis when I need them. So that same example, I save $500, right? I don't have the cost of the employees. I don't have the cost of the truck. I don't have the burden of the investment, right? But I have new subcontractors whose sole job it is to come pick up things when I ask them to, when I make more sales. So my cost of the sale in revenue and profit could go up because I don't have all the other expenses related to me owning the truck myself. So most business owners won't think that way. They're going to think the way you said, in a linear way, that if I go buy the truck and I hire the guy, then, eventually the truck is going to bring me, I'm going to get more business, and then that business will pay off the truck. And then there you go. Well, you still have that risk associated with it versus minimizing your risk by simply subcontracting the work out.
Yeah.
Right? It's a different way of leveraging the same money.
Yeah. And it's smarter too.
Right.
And because I don't think business owners consider all those variables. I don't even necessarily consider all those variables when I'm making small purchases. So I'll go out and I'm like, okay, I'm buying a new camera lens, right? So camera lenses, range, one could be $150. Some can be $5,000, right? But I'll just take a couple of the camera lenses that I had just bought. One was like $250. The other one was like $400. Okay. So I go out and I buy these 2 camera lenses, but then I have to buy the insurance to make sure they break if they get broken or anything like that. Now, it doesn't cover theft, but if something happens, dust, water damage, something's being filmed and someone spills a glass of wine on it, right? Right. So even though I had the money, I wasn't really thinking like, oh, well, I got to spend the $50 to insure this one and the $100 to insure this one. Okay, well, now I decided on $150. I said, well, whatever, fine. I was going to buy insurance anyway. And I'm one of those people like, I know I need it. I have the money. I'll just pay whatever it costs, right? But I wasn't thinking about it. And then I'm like, well, I'm redoing my insurance. So I purchased new car insurance, get a better rate. Great. Good driver. That's awesome. And I'm doing then my homeowners and business and personal property insurance. And I'm now paying more money because now I'm like, well, wait, I now have to also insure these for theft if they're stolen because the other policy won't cover it. So now I'm like, okay, well, now I have to pay X amount of dollars to cover all this equipment in case it's stolen. And I didn't think about maybe I should have looked for maybe a policy that maybe would have covered both those things, or maybe considering I don't need to use them that often, maybe I should have considered rental right? Maybe I shouldn't have, maybe because now where it's like 2 lenses and all the costs and everything associated for the year. Now I'm like at $1,000 for maybe something I maybe wanted to shoot only a couple days. I didn't necessarily think about all of that.
So then I ask you the same question I ask my clients. You've done all of this. How much did those 2 camera lenses that you purchased, how much money did they make you? Mm-hmm. How much more money or how many more clients did you get or how much more benefit did you receive by owning those 2 camera lenses to justify it? And you never factored in your time to make those phone calls and track down the policies and go pick up the lenses and bring the lenses back and insure this and make that call and shop the rate. So most business owners don't calculate their time that way. They just see it as it's just a function of what I have to do, right? Let me call around. Well, your time is just as valuable as your employees, if not even more, right? So I challenge you and say you spent that money, but those lenses, based on just your description, probably cost you in excess of $1,000 when you add in your time, the talent, the expertise, the research, just to buy 2 lenses that seemed simple. Right? It's just, I'm going to go buy 2 lenses. Yeah. But most business owners don't put in that thought process. And then finally, I'm going to ask you the one thing, and this is a question. I'm going to know. And you can ask anybody else. You can ask them. Say, I'm going to know the answer to this. When was the last time you updated your business plan?
Me? All the time, actually. All the time. Unfortunately, I think I updated a little too often. I think I need a little bit more focus and discipline in my life because I got a couple plans I'm a person who's okay with adjusting, right? I'm never just going to sit down and stick something out just because somebody says or wait or do this or whatnot. Because I know, even if I don't know everything, I know the complexity and that the variables exist. And so I constantly am spending the time trying to identify the variables that I don't know, because I do know that they exist and I know that they can have an impact. So while I'm like, well, the camera lenses, I could have done a little bit better with that. I do know that that they have long-term value and investment for as I continue to do things and shoot work. And at the end of the day, it does save me the time, energy, and money in the long term, right? But I still didn't take that whole process into account. And so with my business, I am always trying to make those types of evaluations because they are important. I know they exist. It's like, I may not necessarily know everything about whatever the topic may be, but I know that there's certain questions that I need to ask. I am very good at asking the questions. My grandfather, he was the first African-American interrogator for the United States military. He was a question man. And he instilled in me a great deal about asking. It's not about having all the answers. It's about knowing how to ask the right questions. And I have found if you ask the questions, then you can find all the answers. You don't want to always have the answers, but if you know how to ask the right questions, you can eventually get all the answers.
Absolutely. And with the reason why I ask about the business plan aspect, right, is the business plan should be your hardest working employee, right? Most business owners don't look at their business plan as an employee. They should. The business plan is going to help you map out a strategy. It's going to show you the foundation to mistakes. It's going to give you the ability, right, to you're going to have to edit that part. It's going to give you the opportunity, right, to better understand, as a business plan should, kind of the direction of your business, the holes. It shows you where your leakage is, right? It helps you make proper financial decisions, and it makes you aware of your environment and surroundings at all times, right? And a lot of business owners, especially small business owners, people that make between $150,000 and $1 million. A lot of those are the clients that I see where you ask them about the business plan and they tell you they have one, and then you say, produce it. And it's always, well, the dog ate my homework.
Yeah.
And so when I asked you about the lenses in particular, the business plan would have evaluated both your short, mid, and long-term gains from that investment. So you could have said, you know what, I researched it and I found out that it was easier for me to buy these two lenses than it was to hire a contract photographer when I needed the person, right?
Yeah.
And when I put that person in my business plan, I spent $1,000 of my time, energy, and effort to get these lenses, but it was cheaper than hiring two short-term subcontractor photographers that would have cost me, $1,200 over the same amount of time, right? So I had a $200 savings. I get the depreciation for next year. And because I now have these two lenses, I go from standard photographs of still media for someone to now I can do nature shots. I can do building shots. So that's where I was asking, where's the value of those lenses?
Yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah. Getting the quality that you need to be able to produce the projects that you need to produce to bring revenue. So I did make that assessment because I said, well, how much video equipment do I really need? Do I really need to spend this money to accomplish what I needed to do? And I mean, for me, it was easy to understand the long-term value and to make that kind of short-term assessment, but I still miss out on those variables to really understand, the savings. And because just because it is the right decision doesn't mean you ignore all the other factors that come with it, right? Because if you don't have to have loss or you don't have to have wasted time, why have that, right? If you can get an investment, right? If you can get 10-1, take 10-1 versus 9-1, right? If all it does is takes thinking a little bit differently, right? Don't leave the money on the table if you don't have to, right? If you're going to leave money on the table and you're aware of it, then that's okay, right? I'm always like, well, what are you aware of, right? We're all making choices every day. You can choose to do whatever it is you want to do as long as you're aware of the choice. And that's my job as when I'm evaluating clients and doing consulting. It's not my job to tell you everything that you need to do. It's not my job to tell you what to do or how to do it. It's my job to tell you that you can do it A, B, C, D, E, or F. And if you do any one of these options, these are the consequences associated with, and these are the potential things that you may run into. Take your pick and you make the value-based decision on what works for you. But I can't tell you which one to pick. I'm not going to. I can give you my best recommendation, but also I don't think people take into account what you said earlier is the type of business owner that they are, right? The type of person that they are, right? We don't really factor in personality into our business plans. Nobody says, I'm a procrastinator. So while this business evaluation would be a very good choice for a neurotypical individual with good discipline and who's very regimented, knowing myself missing the last 14 of the 22 deadlines I was assigned, I think it's probably a better idea if I choose option B. That's not written in the business plan, right? That's written in my head. I'm going, Alex, you're not going to do that. Why are you even going to do that? Alex, stop even looking at that because I know myself and there's certain things I'm not going to do. And I do factor that into how my business operates because that has, an impact on my success.
And that's why your business plan should be your hardest working employee. You should put inside your business plan that whatever decision you make, and this is just my advice for someone like yourself, if you're prone to analyzing data and information in projects or opportunities, and in doing that analysis, it prevents you from hitting the deadlines or hitting your sales goals or your revenue goals or your forecast goals. What I would do is I would make it a point to say, all right, I'm going to make all my marketing decisions in June, but I'm going to start looking at my solutions in January. And then I'm going to put inside my calendar in Google or whatever I want to use every 2 weeks that of the 5 things I want to do, I'm going to get an answer to this thing and this thing and this thing. So it allows my procrastination. It allows me to take whatever time I want to get to the decision that I feel I'm comfortable with in the pace and time frame by which I do it. And everything becomes people. And again, this is another thing I find with business owners that reach out to SpotOn Financial that struggle is they lack the practice, right? Practice makes you a professional at whatever you do. If you own a small business, you want that small business to go from being a hobby to a way that you earn a living and create a legacy, you have to practice your level of professionalism, right? So if one of your things is I analyze and I'm critical about everything I do, and well, then you need to become laser focused on the one thing that you want to accomplish. And you want to then establish that as a building or a stepping stone to the next thing in your process. So I don't go to process step number 2 until I've answered all my questions for process number 1. And it doesn't matter if process 1 takes you 1 hour to 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
The business owner who understands themselves, understands herself, understands himself, you're moving at the level of comfort that you want. Then the next thing you do is you bring around you your team of experts. You don't need to know all the answers, as you said. What you need to do is learn how to develop the way to ask the right questions, right? So that the people with the information can help you and support you. A smart business owner runs a smart business. A genius business owner hires a bunch of smart people to run a genius business.
That's awesome.
That's where your success is. Any one person that tells you that they run a business where they make all the decisions, when a lender hears that, that's a red flag to that lender. I tell this to my kids all the time. If you're going to be self-taught, make sure your instructor is not an idiot, right? So a lot of business owners, they'll take bad advice from people that they think are experts at it. For example, I roll my eyes and usually decline deals with business owners where they say, well, my bookkeeper told me not to borrow money and that to use all my own cash for my business, stay debt free. I say, well, the challenge with that plan is what happens when your business runs into trouble and you need to borrow money from someone or you need to get an investor. Well, if you've spent all of your money with no clear path as to how you can pay it back, why would anyone lend you any money? Why would anyone invest in you? So when they tell me things like that, I say, make sure you go back to your bookkeeper and ask your bookkeeper, are they prepared to lend you some money now that your business is in trouble, right? More often than not, they're like, no, that's not what they do. So that's always bad advice. Again, it's about leveraging opportunities and leveraging other people's money to build your dream. If you have a strategy, you have a plan that goes with that strategy, and there's an exit to that strategy and a way to exit that plan, and you follow it, you're more likely to have success than not. It's the old adage. Anyone who fails to plan plans to fail.
So tell me now, because that's a lot to take in. And for people listening to this who are like, okay, I'm hearing you. I'm ready to make some changes. I want to adjust things, right? I want to run a genius business, right? I want to run a genius business. But they have now screwed up the all along the way. And now they're just in a bad spot. You know, you're at your rock bottom and you decide, okay, I'm going to change. And you might talk about credit, right? If you want to borrow money, you typically need some good credit, right? Walk me through that. To walk me through some of the ugliness of what we're seeing with business owners in their credit journeys, in their lending journeys, and finance. Tell us how we can get out of this hole.
So repairing your credit is like an exercise or diet plan, right? When you have bad credit, you always make that New Year's resolution. This year, I'm going to do something about it. And then for the first 2 or 3 weeks, you do what you need to do, and then you go back to your old habits, right? So again, it goes back to the very, very first thing I said, discipline and knowing who you are. If you have credit issues, the first commitment you need to make to yourself is pay the people you owe, regardless of the amount that you owe them and regardless of what they're screaming you should pay. If you owe someone hundreds of thousands of dollars, for example, right? If you can only pay $100, make the commitment to yourself and to them that they're going to get the $100. If it's every week, if it's every day, it's once a month, whatever it is, start there, right? Make that first step to create a path built on small wins that lead to a major victory, right? You want to take the small steps of modifying your behavior,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that's really the first thing to running a successful business is recognizing the bad habits and then getting out of those
Yeah, we all got some
practices.
bad habits,
Right?
right?
We all do because we're called humans,
Mm-hmm.
right? And with that human frailty, you make mistakes. The second thing is, so now you develop a discipline, right? In regards to your credit or just paying your vendors, pay your employees, pay the people you need to pay,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, when you do that, you're going to start seeing what's called a profit, right? Then you have to come up with a reinvestment strategy. This is where your business plan comes into play. If you don't have a strategy to reinvest the money, guess what you're going to do with it? You're going to spend it because you have it, right? And just because you have money doesn't necessarily mean you need to spend it. Because here's the secret tip. Hopefully anybody listening to write this down. This is the most here it is. I'm going to give you the secret that all banks don't tell you when you come to borrow money. Don't matter what bank it is, right? And that is banks lend based on cash flow. Isn't that silly? They lend you the money based on what they believe you can repay, but not necessarily the debt service aspect, but how much of that cash flow you need to debt service their loan. Those banks have parameters. They look for borrowers to have somewhere between a 5 to 11% cash flow to debt ratio. So that means if you make $10,000, the bank is going to raise its eyebrow if it costs you more than $1,000 a month to pay them back. The reason why is because your $10,000 factors in your taxes, your employee wages, your vendors, your other expenses, payment to yourself, and reinvestment back into the business. Well, if you're spending all that money and that takes $9,500, $9,800 of your $10,000 a month, yes, you're making money, but to the bank, can you pay the loan back? No, there's not enough cash flow there, right? So the first thing was discipline, right? Pay on time, pay early, pay what you can pay. The second thing is coming up with a plan and a strategy for reinvestment and growth in the business, right? Banks lend money to people that properly manage money, period, right? And then the third and final thing is that's where now that you've got a profit, you've got a reinvestment strategy, you're following your business plan, now it's time to seek advice from those who've done it before you, right? You have to establish relationships with mentors. They could be in local business groups. They could be business owners in similar lines of business that you're in. You can literally make friends with your competitors. What better guy to take advice from than a guy who's in the same industry as you are, that you compete against, that you keep losing to?
Competitors are excellent instructors.
It's like me with Wells Fargo, right? Wells Fargo is a multi-billion-dollar bank, right? I'm not anywhere close to that. But a lot of the mentors and people that provide advice to SpotOn Financial in dealing with non-bankable clients to make them bankable are people that work for Wells Fargo that are in the commercial lending department. So they're the ones that are giving me advice on how to better enable my clients to go to Wells Fargo, apply for and actually receive the funding that they need, right? So it's discipline, having a plan, right? And perfecting and sticking to that plan, right? And then getting the folks that are around you that you need to help grow the business, hiring the geniuses around you, either as mentors, as employees, whatever you need to help you with the business.
Yeah, I mean, that's really smart. I mean, I don't think it's taught that way. I don't think it's given mostly that way. I don't think business plans are factored that way. You know, we usually get a lot of templates to work off business plans, fill in the blank, fill in this, fill in that. You know, we're taught, okay, yeah, borrow money, but have good credit. Nobody tells us about cash flow. Now, the investor for our company is all about cash flow. But he's been in the game decades. He knows better. And so, you know, sometimes for me, I'm like, you know, when I first went to a bank and getting credit cards and loans and things of that nature, you know, my main focus was, oh my gosh, I've got to get my credit right, because if my credit isn't right, I'm not going to be able to get the money. Nobody said, Alex, if you can make some money, and work on your credit, work on paying those people back, but make sure you're making money, because that's going to matter more than anything is how much cash flow you have versus how much debt you have or which credit score might be. Your ability to pay back, you know.
It's going to be the triangle. It's going to be your FICO score. It's going to be the cash flow that you make, and it's going to be how you grow or manage the business. So when you look at all three of them, really, it's the same thing. And that is, when I manage my credit, guess what I know how to do? Manage my money. If I manage my credit and manage my money, guess what I'm pretty good at? Managing my business. So it all comes down to the same point that we keep saying. If you've got the discipline and you've got the plan, then you've got to have the ability to stick to that plan. And the last thing is get the people around you that you need to help you make smart decisions that manage and grow the business. So again, most business owners, they don't go outside their box to actually go and hire the people, because first thing out of their mouth is, well, I can't afford the right lawyer. Well, you may not be able to afford the $5,000 from the attorney, but can you afford the $50,000 lawsuit that you lose? Mm-hmm. The $5,000 for the lawyer sounds like a pretty good idea right now, right? It's I can't afford to hire the right guy or gal to work in my company because they want too much money, and I got to give up my profits to hire hire this person. So I'm going to hire people that will work for what I want, but they're subpar at what I do. So did you really get the right people to grow the business, or did you just hire people that are keeping you in the business stagnant and where you are? So it's about the investment, and that investment goes back to the strategy. The strategy goes back to the plan. The plan goes back to the discipline to see it through.
Do you think business owners really spend enough time thinking about investing in the staff that they have, and so forth? Because that was something for me that I had to learn is, when do I hire a $15 staff member? And when do I hire a $25 staff member? And when do I hire a $45 staff member, right? What's the time and energy, right? What's that worth to the business?
I'll give you another secret, right? If anyone listening to this, don't ever hire another single person to work for you based on a resume, right? A resume tells you two things. One, that wherever they were working before, they didn't like it because they're now sitting in front of you with a resume. And wherever they were at, obviously didn't like them or want to keep them because they're sitting in front of you with a resume, right? If it's a great talent for you, then they were a great talent for whoever they were before, right? So what I use as my criteria is, depending on the position, I ask someone to bring me a portfolio. For example, if you want to hire a sales rep, don't hire the sales rep based on their resume and their experience in the industry. You tell the sales rep, bring me your last 3 years personal tax returns, right? If you're a talented salesperson, guess where I'm going to see that? On your tax return. I don't care why you don't work for the other guy, right? I'm interested in what you can do for me and what I'm going to have to pay you to achieve that. Well, if you want to establish your value, present me your tax return. And that's going to let me know right then and there whether or not you're the right guy for me. Mm-hmm. Because I know what you're worth based on what you paid Uncle Sam. Right? Same thing with a customer service rep. Same thing with a marketing rep. I picked the guy that does my graphic design work for me, not because he did a great interview. In fact, it was not one of the best interviews I've ever seen. What I hired him for and what I saw he could do was he was able to create designs for me. And those designs spoke to me as a business owner. And I said, you know what? I would buy this logo from this guy. I would buy this marketing pamphlet from this guy. I would buy this marketing or digital strategy that he's presenting to me. I would buy this from him. If he owned his own business, I'd have hired him to work with my company right then and there on the spot because of the work that he showed versus how great of an interview he did. I didn't care about his interview. I cared about his work. And ever since I've hired him, he has helped me secure business and he's helping me grow my business because he's one of the most talented creative minds that I've had around me in many years. But that's the reason why I picked him, right? I picked him based on what I saw he could actually deliver to the table versus what was written down on a piece of paper. So most business owners don't look at their employees that way. They're looking down at a piece of paper and they're doing background checks. None of that matters. It's, can the person deliver a result that grows your business, yes or no? And if it's yes, that's the guy you want, or that's the gal you want. Beg them, jump on their backs, carrier pigeons, bribe them, whatever you got to do. But don't let them leave your business, because if they go to your competitor, that competitor is going to grow and become more successful because that person's on their team.
Yeah. And I had that experience in my own business with my own staff. And I've, had to, again, look at that over the years, but I had to learn that the hard way. I didn't have someone tell me, hey, Alex, look at these factors, A, B, C, D, and F. I practiced and I got better and I learned, and I'm still learning. My business is still very young. I mean, we're in our 9th year in business, and I'm like happy to be like, oh, most businesses, they're failing after 5 years and our business is still here. So I'm like, okay, let me celebrate some wins, that I've made it, right? And then I'm not get every win you can, right? I understand that I think a lot of business owners, we get kind of caught up in the hype. Our business is making $10 million. Our business is doing such and such. And I understand you want to get there. But when I was on social media, and the CEO of Webflow, which is the design company that you use, his name is Vlad. I started with that company in 2013 using their products to build websites. And it was not flashy at all. It was not. You could only build like 2-page websites. And I could not do half the stuff I wanted to. But I looked at that value. I said, I know what these guys can deliver. I think there's something amazing coming. Fast forward 2020, and they're ranking in, over $140 million in seed funding from another investment company, shaking up the digital space. And I really did. I saw that value early on. Now I saw that for that company, but I didn't really understand that for my staff until the long term, until I realized in my business, I'm working for other people. I said, I'm not working for myself. I'm doing everything in my business to make sure I have enough money to pay people to keep the business just open, instead of making the business profitable. And it was a long journey, and still is a journey. But I realized that some of these things take time. And going back to what I was saying about that CEO, Vlad, putting on social media, he talks about his journey about, 2000 such and such, started this project, then failed, then had to go back to the 9-to-5, then had to do this. And the journey was 10 years. It was a 10-year journey. And if somebody had told me in my 20s, hey, by the way, Alex, before you get to actually have a successful business, it would take you 10 years, I might have said, oh, no, that's too long. I can't do that. 10 years, I can't wait that long. We're all into the get it now. But I'm like, wow, 10 years went by really fast. Like 10 years went by like it was just, gone, right?
So SpotOn Financial success is a culmination of 24 and a half years of work.
That's
It took us 24 years to become an overnight success, right? And again, it's developing the discipline, sticking to the plan, changing the plan, getting advice from mentors and experts and people that have done it before you, and putting that into the plan is what's going to, it doesn't guarantee your success, but it definitely moves you further down the path of success, right? Nothing in life is guaranteed. It's all about the effort and energy that you put into it. And a lot of small business owners, they don't understand, for example, a marketing strategy. They'll bet everything on a digital marketing company. They'll say, well, I paid the digital marketing company $1,000 to get my Facebook ads, right? And then when the phone doesn't ring, or they're not getting the results, they instantly blame the digital marketing company, and the digital marketing company will say, "Well, it's your website." So then they go and build. They go get a new website, and then they're like, "Well, my ads are still not working." Then they say, "Well, it's the content." So then they change the content instead of really stepping back and going, "What SpotOn Financial had to do," and that was we had to figure out an omni-channel approach. We did direct mail. We do outbound telemarketing. We do seminars. We do events like this. We do radio ads on the Ross Kaminsky show for iHeart. We've got strategic partnerships. We got expos that we attend. So we took our marketing budget and we started moving the money around that marketing budget in our marketing plan to figure out where our success was going to come from. Well, most business owners, they're going to invest in one thing at a time, and they're going to try one thing at a time, and you're going in the circle. Well, you tried this one thing, but you didn't try that at the same time, so this failed. But because you only did one thing, you're going back around the circle again, right? Trying to then figure out what's going to work. You've got to have that plan and the discipline to stay forward and stay connected to that plan and execute with that plan and document your successes, your small wins, and your small losses. Everything is an opportunity either way it goes. But a lot of business owners don't develop that discipline to understand that and go, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing it. Let me add this with this. Let me add this with that. Let me do this with it. It's an opportunity to be successful with a plan if you're working your plan. And again, what I find most small business owners, they have a business plan when they do have one. That business plan is oftentimes not something that they're updating or managing regularly. And so most of those business owners are struggling and they literally have no idea why.
Yeah, it sounds to me that there's a lot of analysis that we're not doing. We're putting stuff together. We're not looking at it. We're not evaluating it. We're not evaluating it from every angle we should be evaluating it. We're not finding the people who know how to evaluate it from every angle, right? Because I mean, like you said, you got 24 years of knowledge in your back pocket. Okay. 24 years ago, I was just in school. Okay. I not even know how old I was, but that's not something like I have not had the liberty of absorbing, all of that knowledge. And you bring up the point about mentors, right? I feel like I didn't have the opportunity to see a lot of mentors. And I'm a leadership person. I was that nerdy kid in school who was signing up for ASB, student government, peacemakers and all the other little leadership activities. I was an active participant and trying to go out and find those people. And yet still I found a lack of mentorship, at least in my arena. The other thing was, we can't pretend also like that there are a lot of people that look like you and I that can also speak to some of the unique experiences that we're going to have in this journey. Right now, like I said, I've been a person who's always been actively seeking the wisdom and the knowledge. So I just don't let things get in my way. I go out there. If I don't have the knowledge, I'm trying to find somebody that does or get the knowledge, or I do whatever it takes to be successful. But it would have been a whole lot easier if someone like you, could have been next to someone like me throughout the journey to help me not maybe make as many mistakes and also open me up to some of the unique experience some of the unique things that I was going to experience for me as a business owner.
And you bring up a good, again, you make a great point. When you're dealing with minority business owners in particular, I find minority business owners typically do not go out and find the expertise that they need to run a business. There's a whole host of socio-economic, personal, as well as commercial reasons for that. It's a right? That conversation is really for another day. But most business, especially minority business owners, they many of them that I've found need the mentorship, but they don't know the process by which to go about finding that mentorship and being open to that mentorship. So, like, for example, with the Colorado Springs EDC and the SBDC here in town, there are not a lot of minority business owners, Black business owners that are part of the Chamber of Commerce. So when you have diversity committees, for example, that are available to them, there's a level of mistrust. There's a level of insecurity. No one wants to walk in and be the person that says, hey, I've got bad credit. I don't know how to manage my business. I have a certain illiteracy when it comes to business ethics and how I go about that. Even though there are great programs that exist that help, minority business owners that I found become frustrated with the process, frustrated with the people, frustrated with the outcomes, right? I bid on a contract and I'm denied that contract because I've got bad credit. Well, the crutch and the argument could be, well, they excluded me because I'm a minority. No, they excluded you because you didn't have insurance on your business. You haven't paid workman's comp and you got a 510 FICO score. Those are the challenges. Well, if you lack the discipline to fix those things and understand those things about your business, regardless of your race, your sexual orientation, your religious beliefs, you're not going to win. Your business is never going to achieve the success it needs to achieve if you're unwilling to fix the things first with you. So again, going back to the very first statement, understanding who you are, right? As a business owner, understanding your own limitations, understanding what you're good at, understanding what you're not good at, and then forming the discipline to fix the things that need to be fixed in order for you to get those results. We all can't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, lifting weights and eating right and exercising, right? We're not all going to be a Patrick Mahomes throwing a football. Right? However, your chances of becoming more like them increase significantly when you develop a work ethic, create a discipline, have a plan and a strategy to achieve the results and goals that you want. So no, you may not be a Hall of Fame NFL quarterback, but you could be the very best guy out there during, Thanksgiving's, turkey bowl with the neighbor, right? A little bit of discipline, right? You can lose the extra 5 pounds you want to lose for that swimsuit you want to wear or for that picture you want to take, but it's going to take discipline. You're going to have to stop eating the fried chicken. You're going to have to stop eating the candy bars, and you're going to have to get up and you're going to have to go run on days that you don't want to do it. And that's what most business owners I see that struggle. They lack that discipline, right? The discipline to take the advice, stick to the plan, stay the course of the plan, even when you don't see the results you want, i.e. similar to a workout with the gym. I don't see, a 6-pack abs my third day at 24-hour fitness. Well, you're going to need to go more than 3 days and you're going to have to do it for more than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. But over time, you're going to get the results because you're going to develop that pattern of discipline and you're going to develop that focus and you're going to develop that strategy. And ultimately, you're going to stick to the plan to get the results that you want.
Yeah. And I think this is one of those ugly truths as business owners we don't want to acknowledge is personal responsibility. I think personal, I think it extends beyond business. Just in life in general, right? We don't want to take personal responsibility for doing the things that we need to do, oftentimes because other people didn't have to take personal responsibility for the things they didn't have to do, right? One of the things my mother taught me, and I'm so grateful, and this is a theme in our family, is be so good they can't deny you. Be so good that they just can't say no. Because my favorite line from the Lion King movie, I love Lion King, I'm a little bit of a Disney fan, is what Scar says, and it's so true, and I live by this, is life's not fair, is it? Right? It's not. Right. Life is not fair. You are not always going to be treated equally. You are not always going to get, what's owed to you. You're going to have bad things happen to you that didn't deserve to happen to you. That is life. And regardless of your sex or your gender or your race or your ethnic background or whatever, bad things are always going to happen to good people. Good things will happen to bad people. Some people are going to get, the silver spoon. Some people aren't going to get the spoon, let alone the meal to eat it with, right? That is the nature of life, because we live in a world full of humans and a lot of wicked people. And if you're Bible folk and me, it's happened ever since someone decided to take the fruit off the tree, right? That's just the world that we live in, right? And so I think the best thing a business owner can do for themselves is take personal responsibility and do everything they absolutely can to be successful, right? For the people where the disadvantage is real, where they are doing the things that they need to do and aren't getting that headway, I think that's where people like you and I and community needs to step in then to fill in that gap. If you're out there hustling and you're trying to do the things that you're trying to do and you're trying to make it, right, and you're not having the success that you want to have, I feel like this is the place where you and I, your company, my company, other businesses can make a difference in giving that opportunity for mentorship, for expertise, for education, to fill in the gaps, to take out the disadvantages that people have that are not their fault, that they can't. And I've experienced that, right? I'm a business owner. I love my business. I do a lot of great stuff. I've been in a position where I'm bidding for contracts and I say, this contract is $10,000. And they look at me like, well, is that the best you can do? When I know the other person pitched them the exact same contract 2 months ago and they didn't bat an eye. And they didn't think anything of it. And I'm going, you're making a value-based judgment on me, right? You are not valuing my business in the same way that I know that you valued some other people's business, because I've had the privilege of seeing what some other people have negotiated with you and what others have negotiated with you, right? Getting some of that back end, right? That's not my fault. I presented a great business, great options, great strategy, great return on investment. And now I'm being devalued, right? So I think those barriers do exist, but I think it's still mostly is going to fall back on personal responsibility.
I can see your point with that. My response to that person would have been, is this the best you can do? I would have said, absolutely. If you want the results you say you want for you and your business, then that's the investment you have to make. If you don't want to make that investment, I understand. I'm not for everyone. And I use this, I've got people that will tell you. I said, that's why they invented, the streets weren't made for everyone. That's why they invented sidewalks.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not for everyone. I'm not. Not everybody can afford a Bugatti. But there are people that buy a Bugatti every single year and will drive no other car but that car, right? I'm a Bugatti. If you want a Toyota Tercel, then you should get a company that meets your Toyota Tercel needs. That it's this is, and anyone who's listening to this or watching this, listen to me. Your business and the value you place on your business is your self-worth.
Yes.
If you want to pitch your product to compete against someone else who's lowballing their business for the sake of preventing your business from winning, then let that business have that business, because you know what it costs to run that business. So if they're going to keep losing, then eventually their customers are going to become your customers, because they're going to go out of business because the price cannot sustain the business. That's the other thing business owners don't do. You don't put a value on what you do and stick to that value. Name the next time you walk into a Macy's and you can negotiate the price of the shirt at the register. The price is the price is the price. If it's on sale, then great, you get it 70% off. If it's not, it's whatever the MSRP or the manufacturer's suggested retail price is. When you go into a Birkin store to buy a Birkin bag, there aren't prices on the bag. You either want the bag or you don't.
Exactly.
And if you want the bag, guess what you do? You pay for it. A lot of business owners get into this misconception that they have to price match someone or they have to discount their service, especially minority businesses. Oh, I've got to get a leg up on the other guy. I've got to be down here. No, No, you don't. If they want your service, then they're going to pay you what you're worth. And if they don't want your service, then they're not going to pay you what you're worth. Accept the answer and move on in life.
Thank you. I think that was the golden nugget that took me so long in my business to get to stop discounting my prices, that I just wish somebody would have told me earlier, and not wasted so much time and energy about self-worth.
Win on value.
You know,
win on value. What is your value? What is your return on investment? If you invest in my company and you hire me to do my job, I should give you a 5x return. Why do you care what it costs you to pay me? If it's $20,000 and I make you $100,000, I'm not getting a cut of the $80,000, right? That's why term loans are better than investors. Investors take portions of companies. Lenders, we just want our money back, right? So it's about being focused. Again, discipline, understanding who you are. And if as a business owner, your whole strategy is to discount your product in order to win, that is not sales, my friend. That is begging with a different title. You have to decide, what is your business worth? What is your talent worth? And offer your consumer, offer your client, offer your potential customer value that justifies that investment. Period. Yeah. If you can't do that, call SpotOn Financial. We can help.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think that's probably the most important thing that we need to hear. It was something that I had to learn the hard way. That took a long time to value my business, value my products, value my services. So that way I would stop discounting, because that was one of the few ways that I was getting contracts, was to just go just a little bit below the other guy and sell myself short, despite knowing that I was delivering more than the other guy. And I think as business owners, especially minorities, but for any business owner, you've got to count your value. You have to count your worth. That's why I don't sell I don't sell any websites under $10,000 now. My first website I built, it was $600 many years ago. I built $600 websites. Now we build $14,000 websites, right?
I won't tell you what I made on my first loan, but someday when you find out what I actually thought I was supposed to be paid versus what they paid me, you're going to be like, Travis, you learned a valuable lesson. I'm like, yep. And I never discounted my value after that. Like I said, I wanted to say thank you for this opportunity to talk with you, and for all the folks that are listening and watching this. You know, SpotOn Financial is a partner to small business. We're a partner to our community, and we want to leverage our expertise and talent to help any and all that we can, where we can, and when we can. So we are available. If you would like to reach out to SpotOn Financial, you can do so at www.spotonfinancial.com. And we look forward to working with you and many of the other folks that are watching this and making ourselves available to you anyway.
Thank you so much, Travis. You gave us so many gold nuggets. You gave us so many good reminders. I can't wait to have you back. I can't wait for us to do more together. Thank you so much, and we'll see y'all later.
All right. See you later.